Looking to upgrade your coffee game? Our friends at Roasting Warehouse have just what you need. If you're not sure where to start, don't worry, they've got you covered. Roasting Warehouse offers a variety of coffee bundles, perfect for trying something new or finding your perfect brew. Whether you like it bold and rich with their dark roast bundle, smooth and balanced with their medium roast, or bright and vibrant with their light roast bundle, there's something for everyone. And if you want the best of the best, check out their best sellers bundle, all their top picks in one. As a listener of Football Friends with Ben and Steph, you can get 15% off any bundle with the code FOOTBALLFRIENDS at checkout. So head over to www.roastingwarehouse.com.au and treat yourself to some premium coffee today.
Oh my goodness! That is extraordinary from Ben Garuccio. And it's their leading goal scorer and captain, Stephen Moore.
Auckland, look at the crowd that you guys were able to generate, in the first couple of games.
Yeah, we were really happy to get 40,000 people over the first 2 weekends. Yeah, we're over the moon with that.
You ended up at Sydney FC. Dwight York, he was there the first year, right?
He was one of the most dedicated professionals I've ever seen.
If you're walking around Melbourne and you start seeing AFL players, they're fucking everywhere.
One of the things the Phoenix did yesterday was they took out, I think, 6 billboards all around Auckland and put Wellington Phoenix on the billboards yesterday. Said New Zealand is yellow.
And welcome back to another episode of Football Friends with Ben and Steph. We have a very special guest on today. Probably perfect timing with the Kiwi Classico coming up, I think is what they've named it, isn't it, Ben?
Yeah, I think it's the Kiwi Classico. If it's not, they should call it that, because that sounds like a fucking perfect name.
So Terry McFlynn will shortly be joining us. Obviously, lots of good options to choose from. We were kind of going through and thinking who would be best to come on, and obviously he's someone that's played in the A-League, been around for a long time now in the, I guess, off-field admin staff, and he's been part of Auckland to create it. So we thought, get some insights from Terry into, I guess, how you start a club from scratch, his dealings with Bill Foley, and yeah, their amazing start to the competition. So I'm really excited for this one. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, can't wait. I think he's a bit of a legend of the A-League. So yeah, it's going to be good just to get an insight from his journey from playing to after football. What he's done has been pretty remarkable. He's obviously remained here in Australia, so it's going to be an exciting chat. I'm looking forward to it, and let's get him in now. And joining us, today's guest, brought to you by Motion Sports. We've got an absolute legend of the A-Leagues on and off the pitch, former Sydney FC captain and now director of football at Auckland. A very warm welcome to Terry McFlynn.
Good evening, Ben. Good evening, Stephen. How are you, boys?
Yeah, we're very good. Probably not as good as what you are after 2 wins in 2 games, though.
Yeah, there's a long way to go, mate. You know that.
That's it. No, it's obviously, yeah, as Ben said, good timing to get you on. We were kind of going through yesterday and just thinking about, or a couple of days ago, and especially with the derby coming up this week between you guys and Wellington. Everyone over here in Australia is talking about the success of Auckland, and probably we'll get good insights from you as to how do you actually start a club up from scratch, because I think you guys now have the blueprint that hopefully you can pass on to any new franchises. Not give away too many secrets, but it seems to be as good as a job as you could have done, really.
Yeah, look, it's been a really exciting journey to get to this point, Steph. We got the license back in November 2023, and what started out was an email and a couple of WhatsApp messages, and then to have a packed out stadium on our first home game against Brisbane Roar it was testament really to Nick Becker, the CEO. He's done a fantastic job in putting together a commercial team and a football department, and 29 players drawn from all over the world, and we had a really clear strategy of getting as many Kiwi players back as possible. So it was really pleasing to get it all kicked off last week, and now, as you said, it's back to business as usual, games every week. So it was good to get off to a good start with 2 good wins.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's you underestimate it. I think obviously it's very easy now. We're watching the games and there's 24,000 there in in round one and you guys get the win, and then 14,000 you guys get another win. But I think the actual journey of starting a club from scratch is, ridiculous, and you can't probably underestimate it enough, how hard that job is. It's not one person. It's not just players that you got to get in it. It's a whole organisation. Fantastic job that you guys have done so far. I know it's only the beginning, but I'm sure it's going to be very successful going forward.
Yeah, look, it was, as you said, Benny, we had everything to bring in. So obviously Nick Becker was the first person appointed at the club. Mike Higgins was the chief commercial officer that came in shortly after Nick, and then I was the third person appointed. So the three of us was working basically around the clock for a few months until we started to build out our own departments. Mike obviously built out the commercial team to bring in the money. Nick was fantastic in connecting with all the local clubs and obviously commercially as well. And then my job was tasked with putting together a football department and bringing in the players. So Bill Foley, the owner, is very hands-on. We were connected a few times a week. The guys at Bournemouth have been fantastic in terms of resources, in terms of strategy, structure. So we had a really, really clear strategy. Bill is a very, very successful businessman. He's got 6 restaurants, 3 wineries, and a hotel here in New Zealand. He's passionate about New Zealand, and he wants to give opportunities to New Zealand people, both on and off the pitch. So we had a real clear strategy to get as many New Zealand players as possible into the club, and we worked with a team for the community, from the community. So that as the weeks and months rolled out, we went everywhere. We spoke to every New Zealand player we could potentially get hold of, and phone numbers, WhatsApp numbers, emails, Instagram, any way we could get hold of players. Steve and myself actually flew up to Egypt to watch Tunisia and Egypt playing against the All Whites. Met with all the players, told them what we were doing, what we were trying to do, building this club for long-term sustainability and for success. Some of them, like Tommy Smith, Nando Pineacre and Max Mata, they were ready to come back. There was a few others that we spoke to that weren't ready to leave Europe or come back at this point, but they'll come back in the future. So we're really happy where we got to recruitment-wise. We've got 18 Kiwis, 3 Aussies and 5 foreigners, and we've got 9 scholarship boys, which will form the crux of what's called here the NRF team, the Northern Regional Football League. So that'll be our reserve team. They're training full time with the first team, and that'll be the succession plan for the future of the club.
Yeah, that's amazing. We'll touch on, I guess, a little bit more the specific details, and probably about the chat with Chris Wood to try and convince him to come back. But let's go back a little bit younger, when you were growing up, playing junior football. Where did it all start for you? And then I guess from that, how did the move to Australia actually come about?
Oh God, you're testing me now, Steph. I grew up in Northern Ireland, born in the 80s, where there was a time in Northern Ireland known as the Troubles. So there was a lot of political unrest in Northern Ireland. And I played Gaelic football all through my school days and childhood. Switched to playing soccer or football in my early teens. And within 2 years of first playing football, I was playing for... I got picked to play for Northern Ireland schoolboys. And quickly from then we had a game in Dublin against the Republic of Ireland. It ended 0-0. It was one of the most boring games of football I think I've ever been involved in, but thankfully for me, the QPR head of academy, a guy called Chris Keeler, was there at the time. And John O'Shea was playing for the Republic of Ireland. So the both of us went to QPR. And I was offered a contract. John was offered a contract as well, but as a 15-year-old kid, he was very ambitious as he went on to win many Premier League trophies. And he said QPR wasn't a big enough club for him at that time. So he proved to be right. He signed for Man United, had a hell of a career. So that was it. And then at 16, I left school, moved to London. I signed a 5-year deal at QPR. Did my 5 years. They only played 2 first-team games. We went through administration at the club. We didn't get paid for 6 months or whatever it was. The PFA was brilliant. They stepped in and covered everyone's bills and everything. And it was just around the time when, this was well before your boys' time, but when the Premier League broke away from the Football League, and then Sky TV took over the Premier League. ITV Digital was another television platform that took over the Football League. They actually collapsed, so a lot of the money went out of the game from the Championship down. So there was 19 of us basically released on the same day at QPR. So I've gone from signed in the Premier League at QPR, we got relegated to the Championship, and then all of a sudden I was unemployed and playing in the conference. Couldn't get a club in any of the divisions in the league, so I ended up signed for a club called Woking in the conference. And it was a good time there. I had a really good time with a coach called Colin Lippiett. God rest him, he's dead now, but he's one of the nicest guys in football. Too nice to be a football manager, if that makes sense. He just wanted to keep everyone happy. We had a squad of 32 playing in the conference, so we had more players that was out of the squad than was in the squad. So they had a massive wage bill. Another coach came in after Colin got sacked, Jeff Chappell, and he basically just sat me down and said, right, I've got to get rid of 20 players and you're one of them, you've got to go. So that was basically what it was. I got paid up there, and a good friend of mine, Gareth Graham, who was at Crystal Palace and Brentford, he was playing for another club in the conference called Margate, and they were looking for a midfielder at the time. So I went and signed for Margate again in the conference, and just played there for I think about 18 months or 2 years. But I was still playing for Northern Ireland under 21s at the time. So I was thankful that Roy Miller, the coach who I played all my junior football with, continued to pick me even though I was playing in the conference, in the non-league. And at that time, Sammy McElroy was the Northern Ireland first team coach, and his assistant coach was a guy called Jim Harvey. And Jimmy was at Morecambe. I think Morecambe are in League One now, but they were in the conference at that time as well. And every time we go away with the national team, Jimmy was getting my ear and say, "You got to come and play for me at some point." And then I did. He came in for me. One of the transfer windows, Jimmy came in for me, and I went to Morecambe, and we had some good times up there. We got the playoff final, and then all during that time, I'd met my wife. Well, she was my girlfriend back then, but she's my wife now. She's from Perth, so I met her in London, and it got to around 2004 or 5. She wanted to come back to Australia, and the A-League was just starting, so back then it was before Y-Scout and agents videos and things like that, so I was old school. I wrote a letter to all the clubs, and it might even have been an email. It might have been a bit more advanced, but to all the clubs asking for a trial. And we're actually trying to get to Perth, because obviously Emma's from Perth, but Steve McMahon was the coach then at Perth the first year, and he had signed his actually it was only 4 foreigners. He had signed his 4 foreigners at that time. Lou Sticker was he's an agent, as you boys know. He was building Sydney FC, so he was the agent that put Sydney FC together in the early years with Walter Bunyo. They offered me a trial at Sydney FC, so I flew down. I think it was 3 positions left on the roster, so there was myself, David Carney, and Matthew Bingley was the last 3 signed at Sydney, with Pierre Lebarski and Ian Crook. So that was how I ended up at Sydney, and I ended up playing there for 9 years, won 2 championships, had some good times there.
Yeah. Crazy journey. I guess you. I'm sure you set out when you went to QPR, and all you were thinking about is you're going to be playing in the Premier League, and then a lot of shit happens in football, as it does with everyone's journey. Sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's not so good. But I guess everything happens for a reason. You ended up at Sydney FC. Good timing, I guess, and good luck that your wife was an Aussie as well, so it helped you kind of probably get the itch to come to Australia. But how was it, I guess, in those early years at Sydney FC? Dwight York, he was there the first year, right?
Yeah, Dwight was the captain. So it was good. Sydney FC was really good the first year. We trained at Football New South Wales out in Parklea, and it was funny actually. We went to Dubai for a pre-season camp the first year, because the first year, because there was no NSL, Australia didn't have a representative in the Oceania Champions League. So we had a little mini tournament where all the teams played each other, and we actually won that. And then we went to Tahiti, played in the Oceania Champions League tournament. We won that, so we were Oceania's representative at the Club World Cup in 2005 in Japan. But so we're in Dubai for a pre-season camp, and we actually got told Pierre Labarski was the coach, and he sat us down and told us that Dwight York had signed for the club. So we were obviously buzzing that he was coming. I think he was at Blackburn at the time. He was coming to join us and be part of it. So we got back to Sydney, and we never got to train at the stadium at Allianz. We were always out at Parklea, and this one day we got a text message the night before training. We're training at the stadium tomorrow, so we went to training, and that was when Dwight came in, and I think he got told that we trained at the stadium every day. He bought he got a beautiful apartment down in Darling Harbour, and then all of a sudden he got told we got to train at Parklea, which is about 45 minutes outside the city. So you can imagine his reaction to that. But no, it was good. Like Dwight was fantastic. He had people talk about all night Dwight, and I think in the year that he was there with us, I think I've probably seen him on the drink probably 3-4 times in the whole year. Obviously after we won the grand final we had a good time, but he was one of the most dedicated professionals I've ever seen in training, and I was only young then. I was 24, so we had younger boys as well, like Jacob Timpano, Justin Passfield, Wade Oostendorp, and he would keep us out after training and do extras with us and make us serve him balls. He was finishing, and he was fantastic, and just what we learned from him on and off the pitch was fantastic, how to be a professional. And but we had Pierre Labarski, who was the coach. He played in 3 World Cup finals. He won the 1990 World Cup with West Germany. Again, he was just, he was an absolute student of the game. He absolutely, we used to joke that he finished his career in Japan, and he married a Japanese lady, and every couple of months she would go back to Japan to visit her family. And we used to hate it because he just got bored, and we were doing triple sessions because he didn't want to go home to an empty house. So especially all the younger players, he would make us go. There's a leisure centre called Bernie Mullane Sports Complex near where he lived. So we'd do 2 sessions at the training ground, and then he'd say, right, all the younger players meet me at 6 o'clock at Bernie Mullane. So we go and we play this game. It was like tennis, like 2 poles and then 2 wide. So you had to play through the poles, 2 touch. The ball wasn't allowed to stop. Winner stays on. No one could beat him. Like he was the best at this game, and we'd be there till 10 o'clock at night, and then we'd be back in for training the next morning, and he's screaming and shouting at us because we can't run in training the next day. There was no GPS units or loading or RPEs or anything back in them days. It was just you get on with it. So
just fucking run.
Just run. That was it. Exactly right. He had 2 things: run and win. He was a winner. He was, and we ended up going through that season. We beat Central Coast in the final. Actually, back then it was one for you, Steph. It's Adelaide. We played in the semi-final. It was actually 2-legged semis back then. And for some reason, Cozzy was the coach, and for some reason he wanted to play the first semi in Adelaide. I mean, it was away goals counted, so we went down there. We drew 2-2, so we knew we had 2 away goals coming into the home semi at home at Allianz. So, and then we beat Central Coast in the grand final. Stevie Corica scored the winning goal, and that was it, year 1.
Crazy.
Wow.
Good start to life in Australia.
Yeah.
And obviously, 200 odd games later, captain, obviously, quite a bit of silverware in there, obviously, Sydney FC, one of the most successful clubs, especially in those early years. I suppose as you started, coming to the later days of your playing career, did you have a plan that you wanted to clearly stay in football? I know you studied, so you can quickly plug your degree on here. But was there a clear plan for you? Was it that you wanted to stay in football? Did you think about potentially coaching, or what was your plan as you were coming towards the end?
Yeah, look, Benny, I was never the best player. What I could do was run, but no, I can't. I couldn't even run a bath now. But so I had to work very, very hard every day to try and be even in and around contention for selection. So I always knew I needed a plan for when I finished playing. Whenever that would be, I was always on 1 or 2 year contracts maximum. I did study. I always wanted to be a coach. I loved the tactical side of the game and understanding how to set teams up, how to actually train, work what you're trying to achieve on the weekend and work backwards from match day 1, 2, 3, whatever it may be, how that all pieces together. I tried to take as much from the coaches I've had over the years. I was fortunate enough to work with some really good coaches: Jerry Francis, Ian Holloway, Ian Dye, Pierre Lebarski, obviously Arnie in the later years. But when I started studying, I was doing a Masters of Coach Education, and my thesis was developing a high-performance environment through the organisational culture. So that side of it really fascinated me, about how to get the best out of people every single day, and why they do what they do and how they do it. Creating a vision, uniting people behind a vision and actually working towards it day in, day out. I retired in 2014. Arnie came in. So Frank had just left the club, Frank Farina, who again was another fantastic coach and a good man. I sat down with Arnie. I'd left Sydney at the time. I was actually speaking with New South Wales Rugby League about a potential role there, and spoke to Arnie and told him what I'd done, and he read my paper and he said, "Look, do you think we can do it at Sydney FC?" And so I said, "Well, mate, we're good people. You can do anything. Whatever it is you want to achieve, you just need people to believe in what you're trying to achieve, and do it with. It has to come from a good place. So you do it with care and trust, you can achieve anything." So I came in. My first role at Sydney after I retired was player welfare manager. So obviously all the boys that was in the change room, I was the captain. I'd retired. I was still very, very close with all of them. The first one we brought back was Broski. He was in Dubai at the time. We brought him back. And we just started not redefining the culture, because I don't want to say that, but we just started to put more care and attention on the players, and giving them a lot more freedom and ownership of the direction of the performance. We really enjoyed it. I really enjoy this side of it, to be honest, Ben. I did have a little stint at coaching at Perth Glory, the youth team. Enjoyed it. Enjoyed being on the grass, especially with the younger players and helping them. But I really enjoy this side of it more so. Yeah.
So when you went to Perth, obviously, and you were coaching there, was that kind of like in your head a bit of a trial to see if it's something you wanted to stick at, to kind of, obviously, like a player, you've got to start somewhere coaching. Was that what you were thinking in your head when you went to Perth?
Yeah, look, we went to Perth, Steph, for family reasons. Obviously, as I said, my wife's from Perth. My father-in-law got diagnosed with Parkinson's disease quite a few years ago, and my wife's a nurse, so she wanted to be there to help the family, which is very understandable. I was actually going to leave Sydney FC in 2018 when Arnie left to take over the national team. I just felt it was time to go, and Arnie had left, Clarkie had left, Dougie had left, and then Stevie had just taken over. So Stevie asked me to stay one more year and help him. It was his first year as head coach. And the one thing he asked me to do as soon as he took over was, we had Adrian Merjevski and Bobo, and we needed to sell one of them. Obviously we're cutting, not so much cutting budgets, but we were trying to recoup some of the outlay, and obviously through player sales is one way you can do it in a football club. And Stevie asked me, he said, "Look, please, whatever you do, just sell one of them." So we had an offer for Bobo in Antalyaspor in Turkey. So we'd accepted the offer, and we spoke to Adrian and said, "Look, we're going to make you marquee now. We're going to improve your contract." And then Adrian came back and said, "No, I've got an offer in China, and I'm gone." So the first week of Stevie's job as the head coach of Sydney, he lost 35 goals from Bobo, 12 goals and 16 assists from Adrian. So I was off the flyer there with him, but.
He said get rid of one of them. You fucking did even better. You got rid of two.
Got rid of two of them. And then we brought in Alfie. We brought Adam Lafondre in, so he was happy with that one. But yeah, that was 2019. End of that season, we won the grand final in Perth on penalties, and then I left and went to Perth Glory. Papa was there as the coach with Foxy. Obviously, I played with Foxy and played with Papa, and Papa coached us in 2010. He was the assistant coach when we won the grand final. So, I went in to work with Richie Garcia and Steve McGarry in the academy, and I really enjoyed it. Richie had the NPL team. I was the assistant with the NPL team, and I took the 20s, and then Stevie took the 18s, and he was the academy director. And we had some really good kids there, like a lot of the boys that came through Perth the last couple of years, like Chris Donnell, Kilima Jigadumdi, who's playing now, Joe Ford, Gio Colley, who played last year. There's probably about 7 or 8 of them young boys was in the academy back then. And I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it, especially working with the younger boys. But then, when Richie took over then as head coach, he asked me to do the football operations role, and I moved into that, and then obviously moved away from that after COVID. Yeah.
As a professional athlete, wearing a GPS tracker every day is crucial. It gives me detailed insights into my performance, my output levels, and helps me track my progress over time. That's why having access to that kind of technology, no matter what level you're playing at, is a game changer. With Motion Sports and the Soccerbee GPS, you can do exactly that. Whether you're an aspiring pro or just someone who loves playing the game, Soccerbee allows you to track your distance, speed, compare yourself against 50,000 other users, and build a player profile, just like we do as professionals. Having that data at your fingertips is invaluable for any footballer looking to level up their game. And right now, you can get 15% off with the code BESTFRIENDS at checkout. So head over to www.motionsports.com.au, grab your Soccerbee GPS and start taking your football performance to the next level.
One thing that I think that space that you were speaking about, obviously about high performing teams and about getting the best out of individuals, it's something I'm actually quite passionate about. I'm interested to hear your insights. Do you think it's easier as your head coach or as head of operations or football director to actually be implementing that? Because obviously they're two different roles, but what one do you think actually has a better chance of executing and kind of changing the culture or creating a new culture or a winning culture anyway at that?
Look, I think it has to be a joint approach ultimately, but there has to be someone obviously spearheading it and leading it. I think if it's a football director or CEO or someone in an executive sort of leadership role, because ultimately the head coach is going to be judged on results. So you need something that's constant, that's going to drive behaviours, actions, and language day in, day out. And language is a big one for me, Steph. The way the boys interact with each other, the way they speak to each other and about themselves. And we're doing it now. The great thing that we've got here is we've got probably 65% of the squad have never been professionals before. So everything we're telling them at the minute, there's no pushback at all. And it's like, we'll get them to do a reflection on the game today at recovery session, do a reflection on the game. What worked, what didn't work, what was your thought process going into the game, what was your routine, how did you feel walking out in front of 14,500 people, how did it feel when the goal went in, how do you recreate that, how do you capture that? And it's just making them understand that everything we're doing from the minute they walk into the building to the minute they leave is for them, is to make them actually better every single second of the day, whether that's pre-activation in the gym, whether it's nutrition, if it's the lunch we're providing for them, just the environment that you create for them. So I think that there has to be a constant, and I think if you've got someone who's spearheading that, whether it's a team manager, a director of football, a head of high performance, whoever it is who's driving it, the coaches actually buy into it as well. So the environment grows, and the coaches become an extension of what you're trying to preach to the players. And we have nothing's off limits with us. Everything's open, it's transparent. Anyone can come and ask any question and they'll get told the truth. You might not like the truth, but you'll get the truth.
Yeah. That sounds really good.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I've got a question for you as well on that, because before you asked, Steph, I was thinking this is very interesting. Obviously, being involved in professional sport, and even if you're not involved in professional sport, this side of the game is very intriguing, and obviously it's very, very hard to create a winning culture, or else every single team would win every year. But what would you say if you had to pick out one thing on creating a high performance environment, a successful environment? Obviously you've been across quite a few in your playing days, and obviously after football as well with Sydney, even that time where you're at Perth with Popper and Foxy, probably one of the best times in recent years at the club. What would you say if you had to say one thing that's the single most important to creating that high performance environment?
We tell the boys now, Benny, and we'll tell the girls when they come in next year, always do the right thing even when no one's watching, because you're only cheating yourself. Like we'll set what needs to be done, and we'll set the intensity that has to be done at, and if you don't do it, you're cheating yourself, and the results will be you'll be out of the team, you won't play, but we'll keep moving forward, because at the end of we said to the boys at the start of the season, we're here to win, and some of them sort of laugh, not so much laugh, but they sort of thought, well, you can't be serious, we're a brand new team. I said, there's 13 teams in the competition, someone has to win it. Why can't it be us? Who's to say it can't be us? If you work hard every single day and you do everything that's asked of you and you ask enough questions and you develop and you learn and you grow, video sessions, nutrition, yoga, whatever it may be, you strive to get better every single day. At the end of the season, we might not win it, but you can actually look each other in the eye and say, we did absolutely everything we could. So it's just the little things. And we don't police it, or it's not like a military. You give ownership to the players and you say, right, this is what needs to get done today. It's up to you. The players will actually take us how far we want to get to. And that's what football is. And you boys who live and breathe it every day, you're footballers. So if you've got the trust of your management, you've got the trust of your coaching staff, you go on the pitch and you've got all the information, you've got all the fitness, you've got all the data to back up to say, we can win this game. It's just about having the belief and going and doing it.
Absolutely. I think belief is probably the most your secret tool. When you truly believe, and I know you can say, I'm confident, I believe in myself, but truly believing in what your team's doing, the way that everyone's working the same way, especially in football, because it's not an individual sport, it's a team sport. You need every single player, you need every single person within that building to actually believe that this is what we're doing and what we're doing is right. I think with that, you've got half a chance.
Yeah, 100%, man. And the belief in the building, if you listen carefully, you can hear it in the way people speak to each other. Just the positivity of the language when things are going well and when things aren't going so well. It's how you actually take a setback, use it as motivation, or deal with it, or whatever it may be. We know it's not a perfect world that we live in. We're not going to go through and win every single game of football. We're not going to go through every season and not be injured. But it's about accepting what is and then dealing with it and moving on.
Yeah. No, it's I guess it's something that's it's probably not spoken about more now in professional sporting clubs, but I think because there's so many podcasts and things out there, other people are now more intrigued because different successful people are talking about it. But the reality is, I guess there's been successful organisations in sport for hundreds of years since sport's been around, and there's been a reason why they're successful. It's not through luck. There's a reason why teams or players or coaches are constantly successful. It's because of obviously different things that they look to do, and I've always found that the hardest thing is getting the whole buy-in from a group. Whether you're a coach, a player, a staff member, everybody has a different upbringing. Everybody has kind of different belief systems. Everybody has a different reason why they're playing. But to really get everyone to buy into the same thing is that secret. And then when things are going wrong, how do they still believe that what you're saying is right? Because when you're winning, it's easy. But when you start to lose and they question it, that's when it's like, okay, well, do you actually believe this? Do we all believe this? Have we bought in? But yeah, I think it's obviously amazing what you're doing at the club. I guess going a little bit more into, I guess, the Auckland community. How is the club and how have you, I guess, being a part of that, tried to, I guess, get a positive reception from the local clubs there? Because we know in Australia, everyone fights with each other, whether it's Football Australia, Football South Australia, the local clubs, the A-League clubs, everyone's fighting with each other, it seems. What's it like over there in Auckland with you guys coming in? Are you looked upon as the professional organisation that can help everyone, or are you looked at like almost the big bully coming in, stealing all their players?
No, that was the thing we were very conscious of, Steph. As I said, from day one, our mantra was a club for the community, from the community. So we're not going to have an academy all the way down to 13, like a lot of A-League clubs. And as part of the AFC club licensing, we do need to have a reserve team. So we'll have an under 21 teams that will play in the NRF here, which is obviously the NPL back home. We'll have a development centre that sits underneath that, where players from the other clubs will be invited in twice a month to train with us. We're going to provide strength and conditioning. The one big thing that we found here, and everyone told us you got to bring in Australians and you've got to bring in players from overseas and there's no talent here. So we made a real conscious effort when we first got here. Steve, myself and Doug, we were going to 3 games every weekend. So we got a game on a Friday night and we get 2 games in on a Saturday. There's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of good Kiwi kids that just need an opportunity. Like, there hasn't been a professional team in this city for 17 years, so they had nowhere to play. If the Phoenix didn't pick them up, then it was either go to Finland or try and get into the US college system to try and have a career in football. So we connected with all the clubs. We put in a membership rebate scheme with the clubs where if someone bought a membership at our club, and we had a drop-down box on the membership platform, and you typed in, it came down and say it was Auckland United or Birkenhead United, that was your club, 20% of the membership you paid to our club went back to your local club. So we put 180 grand back into the local clubs just through memberships. When we were building out the budget, as you boys would know, there's one of the big things when clubs sign young players is the training compensation, where clubs try and get training compensation waived for the local clubs. We ring-fenced amount in the budget for training compensation. So what we did was, like I said, we signed the 9 scholarship boys. We did a little bit of PR around that, where the boys themselves actually took a check to the president of the local clubs and paid the training compensation back to the president. So we've taken all the clubs on the journey with us, because this was the biggest city in the world without a professional club. There's a lot of football clubs here, but no professional team. And we met with all the clubs and we said, look, everyone has a role to play in this. We're going to get things wrong, 100% we are. But it's coming from a good place, and we want to give every kid in your clubs an opportunity. So we've given them all reporting templates on the sessions they're doing. We're very fortunate that we've got the curriculum from Bournemouth's Academy on how they do things. We've shared that with a lot of the clubs here. The one big thing, as I touched on earlier, was because of the time on the grass with the local clubs here is like NPL clubs. They focus a lot on football, which is great, but the strength and conditioning element, which is a massive part of modern day football, is lacking. So we had boys that came in, and as silly as it sounds, like day one we had our head in our hands thinking, what the hell have we done here? We had boys that couldn't run over hurdles. And that's, I'm not kidding you, we were like, what the hell's going on here? Things that you take for granted. So that's an area that we've identified. We're now working with New Zealand Football. As a professional club, we can access what's called the TDS, the Talent Development Scheme. So we can access a pool of money from FIFA to genuinely show that we're in the development space and helping young boys and girls into professional game. So we'll start providing coaching curriculums, coach education nights, video analysis tools that we can upskill people within the clubs, take that back to the local clubs. Strength and conditioning is a big one. So we're going to start running strength and conditioning seminars, high performance seminars on how to actually physically prepare players. Everything from probably 13, 14 years of age, physical literacy, through to basic techniques that you boys do in your sleep, RDLs and Olympic lifts. That some of our boys, it was actually scary pre-season that we're thinking we're actually going to break all these boys. None of them knew how to do it. And thankfully now we brought Elias Bukaram in as the head of performance, and he's got the boys flying. Touch wood, they're all fit and healthy at the minute. So, but yeah, that's how we've connected with the local clubs, Steph. We see our role is educating, and we don't know everything, of course we don't, but our role is to provide professional services to an amateur environment, to upskill the people in the amateur environment to become professionals in their own space as well.
Yeah, well, I think the strategy for me, the one, the memberships, for example, I think that's a great strategy. You want people to buy memberships. What better incentive can you give them for money to be going back into their clubs where they've maybe got other kids or families or friends that are playing at that club. So that's brilliant. And as for the boys, obviously you spoke about some of these boys not being quite a while off it in terms of S&C and things like that. But I look at someone like young Liam Gillian. I don't know how to say it. How do you pronounce it?
Liam Gillian.
Liam Gillian. He's come in for someone that hasn't played. Or he's people saying that there's no talent in Auckland. You've got him straight out of Auckland City.
Yep.
We kind of said that he was a player to watch for us when we did our season preview. The way he started the season, he looks like someone that's been playing A-League for the last 10 years.
Yeah, and that's a great thing here, Benny, is that the kids are playing with freedom. They've got no fear. Because we said, look, what's the worst can happen? You go back and play for Auckland City where you were? Who gives a fuck? You might end up at Hibs. You might end up at Bournemouth. Play with freedom, mate. The thing that the kids here need to learn is the other way. A lot of them can go forward. The tactical side of the game and the defensive side of the game, as you know, takes a little bit more concentration, a little bit more discipline. And that's one thing that the boys are getting better at. But Liam, his brother's done it, Wellington Phoenix, Fergus. He's a good footballer as well. But there's loads of them here, mate. We could only sign 9 because of the scholarship payments here. So in Australia, as you boys know, the scholarship payments are on a sliding scale depending on the player's age. Whereas here in New Zealand, it's a fixed fee. So we didn't know that, to be honest, when we were putting the budget together, when we were doing the cap and everything. So we could only we signed 9. We can only play 8 of them in the local competition because it has to remain amateur. And to maintain amateur status, 50% of your matchday squad must be amateur. So matchday squad 16, so we can only have 8 of the scholarship boys playing in the local competition. Sure. But we've got another boy, Finn McKinley, in the middle of the park. Ginger, big, tall, ginger-haired kid. Mate, we call him a ginger Pirlo. Like, his passing range for a kid is frightening. Jonty Bidwell's a striker who's scoring goals for fun. Adama Koulibaly, he can play 6, he can play centre-back. Jesse Randall, he came on the weekend as well. He's quick as anything. So there is a lot of talent here, mate. And it's just unearthing them and giving them the freedom to go and express themselves. Like Jesse came in with us. He played 3-4 pre-season games from nowhere. He was actually playing with, remember Paul Eiffel, the Wellington striker?
Yeah.
Eiffel's down at Wellington Olympic, and he called us and said, look, I've got a kid here, mate. He said, he's too good for us. Have a look at him. So Jesse came in with us, and we signed him straight away. He's quick, he's dynamic, he can play both sides, left and right, he can play as a 10. He played 3-4 games with us in pre-season. He was in the national team straight away and went to the Olympics. He scored against the USA at the Olympics. So and that's what we're telling these kids. One of the best things that's actually happened, and it wasn't planned, or was when Alex Poulsen, when we got Alex on loan. And we can say to these kids now, look, 6 months ago you're playing for Birkenhead United, or you're playing for Eastern Suburbs or a local club. Now you're actually sitting next to a Premier League footballer. That's how close it is. That's how quickly things can change in the game. So again, if you do the right thing when no one's watching, who knows where you're going to end up? I said, Alex has done everything that's been asked of him as a kid. Has one really good season. All of a sudden Bournemouth turn around and say, hang on, we'll take the kid. Now he signed a 5-year deal in the Premier League. So that's how quickly it can change. And I think the kids sitting next to Alex and having their lunch after training, they're starting to realise, hang on, there's something for me here if I work for it.
It's fucking possible.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, and that's what we tell them, you never know who's watching. So you could be playing in front of 25,000 and there's no scouts there. Or you could be playing in front of 200 and there's 50 scouts there. Just do what's asked of you and do it to the best you possibly can, and things will happen.
Mm. Yeah, it seems like obviously they've completely bought into it. As we touched on, you obviously have won both the games. The first game, 4,000, almost 25,000 there. Was the club expecting to get that for that first game? Like, how was the hype and the lead up to that first game? Did you feel like the whole town was buying into it, or was it kind of a shock for you guys? I know you can see the ticket sales, but still, I'm sure there was a lot late to the party with buying them.
Yeah, look, I think Nick, the CEO, he's a great guy. He's very humble, and I think in the week leading into it, he was very cautious in his numbers every time we asked him what are we looking at, and he's saying, well, hopefully we'll get over 20, but I think deep down he knew it was going to be sold out because there was a real buzz probably in the probably from the mid-September onwards. There was a real buzz around the city. A lot of sponsors that came on board took on their own campaigns, and like Anchor Milk, who's our front of shirt sponsor, they're one of the biggest companies in New Zealand. They ran billboards all over the city. All the lads was everywhere you went. New Balance, they came on obviously as the apparel sponsor, kitted all the lads out with whatever they wanted. Again, they were doing pop-up stores everywhere. All the lads was there, and it was selling out jerseys, and all the merchandise was gone. ANZ came on as backup shirt sponsor. They ran a campaign, so now they've actually got the debit cards and credit cards with the Auckland FC badge on it when you sign up to ANZ. And it was funny actually because Stevie is actually with ANZ, that's his bank, and he got an email from ANZ, obviously just a generated email saying, "Dear Mr. Corica, please come and be part of Steve Corica's first ever game at Auckland FC on the 19th of October." So, but yeah, they ran a big campaign where they took 170 shirts and hid them all over the city, and then they were running clues on Instagram. If you could find a jersey, you got to keep it, and then again the club ran another really good initiative where it's called the Foundation Jersey. So the first 600 members actually had their name embezzled in the jersey, and then they got to keep that as well. So there was a lot of good stuff done in the lead-in stuff. So we were confident that we were going to get a good crowd, and then again, as you know yourself, it's about one, putting on a good performance and getting a good result, but also having a good match day experience. So we're fortunate at the stadium. We've got what's called a D zone behind the goals. It's almost like a fun fair. Like I reckon in the last 2 games, there's been 300 to 400 kids down there that didn't even see a ball kicked. Like they're in there. They're playing table football. They're playing. There's a massive slide on the grass hill behind the goal. It's just
you can't miss that fucking slide.
You can see I went there about 10 o'clock in the morning. The Brisbane Roar game.
Did you have a go?
I didn't, but I've turned up, and Nick, the CEO, was picking down the slide. I was like, "Mate, are you sure? What are you doing?" He said, "But if we're going to ask fucking 1,000 kids to go down, we might as well check and see if it's safe." So, but yeah, look, I think the whole match day experience, the kids love it, and like you say, the weather's been good. So yeah, we were really happy to get 40,000 people over the first 2 weekends. Yeah, we're over the moon with that.
It's fucking honestly amazing. And the thing is, you know, as great as everything is that you're saying that the club did, you know, this is stuff that all clubs should be doing to create that visibility. I think that's what we need. We need visibility. You need the club to be visible. Now, obviously, getting sponsors on board that are going to run their own campaigns, that's maybe a little bit more difficult, obviously, for a new club that's starting up, that buzz. That's great that they did that. But all these other things, you know, these small things, making the club visible, giving members the chance, you know, if you sign up quickly, you'll be embezzled on our shirt, you know, small little incentives they're that little carrot there that make people go, fuck, I want to be involved in this because, you know, then I'm really a part of Auckland, and that's what we want. We want that community. So, you know, more clubs need it. The whole of the league needs it because we just need visibility. You know, if you're walking around Melbourne and you start seeing these players, you know, you see in Australia, AFL players, they're fucking everywhere. Yeah. You know, you never see an A-League player. You know, there's no billboards. We need that. Obviously, it's hard to create that through everything that the game's been through. But the sooner that we can get back to doing these kinds of little things is, you know, look at the crowd that you guys were able to generate, you know, in the first couple of games. It's unbelievable. And my next question is, do you think we can see that, you know, to continue throughout the whole season, these types of crowds, these types of numbers?
Yeah, look, I think we can. Like I said, we've been fortunate, Ben, because there hasn't been a team here for 17 years. So everything's new, everything's fresh. Everyone wants to come along at the start and have a look. So it was really important for the first, to continue it, to get off to a good start and make sure the match day experience was good. So little things that, you know, which puts people off. Car parking, public transport, all the things of how do you get people to a stadium. We we didn't alleviate them all, but we put on extra buses, we put on extra car parks, we put on, we're fortunate that Bill's got 6 restaurants in the city, so he's turned one of his restaurants into an Auckland FC pub. So it's now called the Tyler Street Sports Bar. So that's where all the fans meet, and then the buses leave from there and go to the stadium. And then after the game, obviously they all come back. So it's sort of barriers to entry. We try and find a way to mitigate it and try to find a way to if that's going to stop someone from coming to the game, how do we mitigate that? How do we alleviate that? And Nick and his team have done an unbelievable job with it. And the one thing, yourself as a football fan, you want to have a jersey for your team, and because it hasn't been a team here for such a long time, we did 165 grand in merchandise on the first game.
Fuck.
And we just went through the numbers this morning. We did 116,000 yesterday on shirts, polos, tracksuit pants, hoodies, beanies, caps, sunglasses, stubby holders, you name it, we were selling it yesterday, mate. And what was great was it was a 4:00 kickoff here yesterday, so it was obviously an early one, and then we went for dinner after the game. And just sitting in a restaurant having dinner, and the amount of people that was walking past the restaurant, getting out of Ubers, on Lime scooters, with the gear on, with the shirts on or a cap or something. It was it's to your point, Ben, you're actually visible. It's actually walking up and down the street, on the buses. So you talk about billboards. One of the other things we did with Auckland Transport, we got all the advertising on the buses. So you've got a stationary billboard, but then you've got 50 buses driving all over Auckland, and cars are driving past it. It's at bus stops, it's at traffic lights. So it's visible, it's there. But then, in saying that, one of the things the Phoenix did yesterday was they took out, I think, 6 billboards all around Auckland and put Wellington Phoenix on the billboards yesterday. Said New Zealand is yellow, which is great, because you know what? Yeah. It's got the whole country talking about football. For what is a massive rugby country, it's on the rise, man.
Yeah, I was watching the game. I saw, obviously, the broadcast must have known it was coming because they've gone to it. They've seen the banner, and then I've seen on X or Twitter, whatever, the billboards. I wasn't sure if they were real or someone's used AI and just photoshopped it, but it's obviously they were real. So I think that that buzz now, obviously Wellington, probably not disrespecting them, but besides last year, they had kind of been a little bit here, a little bit there. They were doing okay, but nothing crazy. But last year they were unbelievable. Obviously, Ufi had them playing some good football, and I think they were becoming more relevant under him. But then Chiefy took over. They did even better. And now with you guys coming in, it seems like it's the perfect time for New Zealand football to actually capitalise on this. And not saying they're going to get and be above rugby union and probably league, which is big there, but the whole of New Zealand literally would be talking about it, because even over here in Australia, people are talking about the derby next week, looking forward to watching it. So it's amazing for New Zealand football. I'm sure they're very thankful for what you guys are doing as well.
Yeah, look, I think with us coming in and adding a second professional team in the country has actually raised the standards, if that makes sense, across the board. It's made Phoenix a little bit more accountable as well, because for a long time they had a free run at it, only professional team in the whole country. I think now with the World Cup going to an extended team list, and Oceania having 1 + 1.5 spots, realistically the New Zealand national team should qualify for the World Cup at every ask now. So you're going to have the national team playing on the world stage, the under-17s World Cup going to every year. They're going to be at that every year. So the national team's going to be on the world stage more often. There's 2 professional teams here in the country now, so there's genuine pathways now for young boys and girls to actually play at the highest level. So there's a real buzz around the whole. I can only speak for Auckland at the minute, but around the whole city in terms of there's 47,000 registered footballers in Auckland alone, across all ages, boys and girls. And we're saying, for us to have 25,000 at the game means we've got nearly half of what's registered footballers in the whole region watching the game. So the interest there. It's just about how do we, one, captivate them, capture them, and retain them.
Yeah. No. Well,
I think you're doing a pretty fucking good job of it so far.
It's only week 2, Betty.
Yeah, I know.
That's it. Well, we don't want to keep you for too much longer. Obviously, it's a little bit later over there in New Zealand. But we really appreciate you coming on here, spending the time, and good luck this weekend against the Knicks. Hopefully, it's another full stadium. Obviously, you guys won't be benefiting from the ticket sales or the merch sales, but there's nothing better than walking out, even though you're not a player, and seeing a full stadium. It's something that I think the Phoenix probably haven't really got besides the semi-final last year. So if you guys can help contribute to that, you'll always be able to tell them that you're the reason why they're actually able to pack out their own stadium.
Yeah. Well, I think today we spoke to the boys down there today. I think there were about 12,500 sold at the minute. So
Yeah.
early days. What we found is that the Kiwis are notoriously late in buying tickets and things. So hopefully by Thursday, Friday, we can get that up to over 20. And then obviously into Saturday, hopefully up over 23, 24.
Yeah, amazing.
We'll see what it will be, but I think for now, thank you so much, Tez, for jumping on with us. A great insight, obviously, into the early story of Auckland. There's still obviously a lot to unfold as the season continues, but I think the job that yourself, Steve, and the rest of the team there at Auckland have managed to do so far. You guys in the footballing department, but also everything else around that is it really does need to be the blueprint now for new clubs coming in. And congratulations on the success so far. Best of luck for the rest of the season, unless you're playing against Western United or Adelaide. But really appreciate you coming on.
No problem at all. Thank you for your time, boys, and likewise all the best for this weekend.
Well, what a chat that was. I guess we didn't really know what to expect. I ran into him at a hotel in Melbourne when they were actually, I think, playing you in a friendly and maybe Victory. And we were just chatting on the table. A few of the Auckland people, everyone seemed really nice. Obviously, through football, you kind of know everyone. But I'm glad we got Terry on because, that insight for any other A-League club listening in, they can take a lot of good nuggets from that. And even from fans from other clubs, I'm sure they'll listen to that and be like, fucking hell, that's all right. And I loved when he spoke about the memberships, to be honest, back to the NPL or the whatever he called it in New Zealand. I think that's such a big thing. Like they've really tried to engage the community, but not be the big bully, but actually make them want to be a part of it. So I think they're doing a lot right. I'm really interested to see if they can continue on this path because it's not easy. But yeah, what did you think about it?
Yeah, they've laid down all the foundations, which is the most important thing, and the foundations are strong from the ownership to the CEO, obviously the people that they've actually got around the club, and then the players as well. They've gone into the Kiwi-based talent. At the moment, it's paying dividends, like you spoke about. Some of the young players that have already featured. I'm sure there's going to be a few more to come, and there's that pathway there now for young kids in Auckland, boys and girls. They've got a professional team there. We saw it with the women's game, with the Women's World Cup here in Australia and New Zealand, and the visibility that gave to young girls, and that they can have aspirations now to actually become a proper professional athlete as a woman. And it's just nothing different now for young kids in Auckland. So yeah, it's amazing. It was a great chat. Tez has been obviously involved in successful organisations across his career, so I'm sure this will be no different. Hopefully they keep going and doing really well this season.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think the league needs more teams obviously coming into it. We want to get up to 16 teams, I think they spoke about, or 18 or whatever it is. And every team that's going to come in from now on, we need them to be raising the bar, and Auckland have done that, and some. So it's really good to see. But that's enough of that chat. Let's quickly round out the fixtures for round 3, because you've got to shoot off. You're always a busy man. And I reckon I'll even have an attempt at the socials this week. So round three of the A-League, we have Friday night, Brisbane v Sydney, the state of origin. Hopefully it's a decent crowd up there. There's been a little bit of problems with Football Queensland and stuff, but hopefully everyone is going to go out and enjoy that one. Douglas Costa, fingers crossed, he's back for that game. but that's a big one to kick off the round. And then we go into the New Zealand, the El Clasico, the Derby, whatever you want to call it, Wellington v Auckland, into Central Coast and Perth Glory, which will be on 10 bold, Western Sydney and Adelaide, which is the main game on 10 bold. And that is going to be a cracker of a game, I think. Adelaide United will win 4-0. Stephen Moore-Catrick and Dylan Pereira can get one in that one. Onto your Sunday, Victory v Macarthur. And Monday, you boys, Western United against Melbourne City. It has been moved to Amy Park. Do you want to chat on that a little bit, or you've got to be quiet on that one?
Nah, I think probably echo what I said on Monday. Obviously, it's disappointing from our point of view, Western United. And I've spoken to a few people at the club. I spoke to the owner as well, and it's just frustrating for us because this is a game that it's our home game. We wanted to play it on Sunday in Tarnee at Ironbark Fields. That's a facility that we've invested money into to play games out of there. And, now they're saying that, we can't play the game there because basically the APL's sided with Victoria Police and said that it's a medium to high risk game and they're not sure if they're going to be able to get the right security measures to make it secure. So I don't really understand how that can then be changed to Amy Park. So what, Western United now need to forfeit a home game at their purpose-built stadium to then go play at Amy Park. You probably have to outlay maybe 90 to 100 grand. So that's probably 100 grand there that the club's missing out on or losing. And then you've got everything else along with that, from merchandise that we would get from the fans at Tarnee, from food, drink sales. So it's just, it's a bit of a shit show. I don't want to ramble on too much about it, but it's frustrating.
You don't want to ramble on, but you already have, so we'll cut you off there. And head over to our socials. It's at Football Friends Pod for Insta and TikTok. It's Ben and Steph Pod for X, and Football Friends with Ben and Steph on YouTube. And I've made a meal of it, but that's all right because it's not Channel 10 News here, is it?
No, it's not Channel 10 News, but I think we'll go back to me doing it next week.
Yeah, well, I'm fine with you doing that. And all the best with your game. Obviously, fingers crossed, depending, what happens with you with your groin. Hopefully we see you out there. If not, enjoy the green seats in the stadium. And we'll be getting the job done in West Sydney.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys, for listening. Make sure you get down to a game this weekend. There's plenty of football going on, a lot of good games around the country as well. So get down to a game. Make sure you watch on TV if you can't get down. And we'll see you guys on Monday to wrap up all of round 3's action. Bye for now, guys.
See you later.